The Supreme Court sort of exists to resolve conflicts between lower courts. Most of the cases the court takes is something that's worked its way up through the legal process. The Supreme Court takes cases that have already been decided somewhere else. And sometimes the court has to act quickly, and the court does that a lot on its emergency docket. But in most cases, the court has a lot of discretion to decide what it wants to do, which cases it wants to take, and the ones that usually the court sort of feels like it has to step in on is when a federal law is being interpreted two different ways by lower courts. Examples of conflicting rulings that the Supreme Court had to work out range from the mundane to the very important. For instance, the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare that has been tested and challenged over and over through the years.
Today's Supreme Court decision is a landmark victory. Every day we'd think, how far will the court go on pre-existing conditions against Republicans' relentless assault to dismantle pre-existing conditions.
Sometimes the issues are constitutional, like is there a constitutional right for gay couples to marry? The Supreme Court didn't step into that fight until some courts had ruled that there was a constitutional right for gay couples to marry.
This decision will end the patchwork system we currently have. It will end the uncertainty hundreds of thousands of same-sex couples face from not knowing whether their marriage, legitimate in the eyes of one state, will remain if they decide to move or even visit another.
Usually the Supreme Court only takes up something after a regional court of appeals has made a decision on a district judge's ruling. And sometimes one regional appeals court will decide one thing, a second regional appeals court will decide something else, see the matter differently, and that's when the Supreme Court really needs to get involved. For instance, in the abortion pill case, one lower court has said that the Food and Drug Administration did not properly look at the safety of the drug before approving it more than 20 years ago. Another judge in the state of Washington said the opposite. It can be difficult for a government agency that is the subject of two different rulings to decide what to do. In this case, that's part of the reason the Biden administration went to the Supreme Court saying, this agency has conflicting direction. How does it satisfy both of these? There's a joke that the Supreme Court is not final because it's infallible. It's infallible because it's final. And so the Supreme Court has the last word in this and will decide how the agency has to conduct itself.